Gilad Atzmon, artist, writer, cultural commentator, born in Israel, now living in Britain. Gilad's first book became an overnight bestseller, but has drawn heavy fire from the Jewish lobby and has seen attempts to silence him for his criticism of Israeli policies on race, war, and Palestine. Tonight, we meet him to hear his story.
I'm Patrick Henningsen, and this is the 21st Century Wire.
Information is power. Reconfiguring your reality. This is the new battleground. 21st Century Wire.
You, shut up. Yeah, you. Because I can say that to you, but neither I nor anyone, especially the government, and they're the ones that count because they have the guns and the right to use force. And that means as long as you don't directly incite violence, you can say just about anything. But what if you say something repulsive, hateful, dangerous?
Well, every year, some nutcases publish books that say the Jews try to control the world, that Hitler was right, that the Holocaust didn't occur, and some obscure saxophonist from England who nobody takes particularly seriously wrote
Well, the
a
left
book.
wing takes him seriously.
Well, he hates
the Guardian
the left wing.
says he's one of the London's finest saxophonists.
This week on the 21st Century Wire, we'd like to welcome our guest, Mr. Gilad Atzmon. Thank you very much for joining us
Pleasure.
this week, Gilad. I know that you're very busy with your schedule and with the concerts and everything, so we're really privileged to be able to have this time with you.
My entire pleasure.
First, before we get started, for people who aren't familiar with you and your work, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in your life.
I'm a jazz musician. I play a lot, but I'm also a writer, and I write mainly about Jewish identity politics, Jewish lobbying, Jewish power. I was born in Israel. It took me a few years to understand that I was living on Palestinian land, and I decided to leave. But when I settled here, I realized that there is a serious problem with Jewish intervention in British and American politics. I then realized that the situation with the Palestinian solidarity discourse is not much better. It's again dominated by different Jewish bodies. And I started to investigate, to write about it, to try to understand what was going on. I was harassed, obviously, by the usual suspects. Some of them were Zionists, but my most devoted detractors are actually Jewish anti-Zionists because they feel exposed. And I'm pretty happy with all those campaigns. I think that they helped me a lot by harassing me, and they prove everything I'm saying. So I'm pretty busy, playing every night and writing every day. That's what I'm doing.
So you're a writer, you're a musician, and you are in a way, and I know, political activist. I don't like to use that word.
I don't like.
But a lot of people look at you in that light.
I know. A lot of people like to see me as an activist, and I don't see myself as an activist. I'm just extremely active. I'm active. I'm not an activist. Activist is something to do with an attempt to change the world with an assumption that you know what is right and what is wrong. No, I'm actually more engaged in the construction. I look into text, I look into culture, and I try to understand what is going on. I try to understand, to find out whether it was a coincidence that Lord Levi was the chief fundraiser when Britain was taken into an illegal war in Iraq. Maybe, you know, it's an important question. A lot of Iraqi died, and a lot of British soldiers died. It's an important question. Nobody dares in British politics, in British media,
or
American politics to address this topic. Is it a coincidence? Not really. This is Jewish power. This is what we have to deal with, and this is also very dangerous for Jewish people. Jews, people who suffered so much, should know better. Should by now realize what is it in their history or in their culture that draws so much attention, that can really evolve into lethal circumstances. I look into it. I think that I know the answers. I think that some people campaign against me because I know the answers.
And why have you taken your specific stance? Because yours is an unusual stance. I know that you're not the only Israeli, or former Israeli, who's been very outspoken against the Israeli government. You're not the only one.
Absolutely. In fact, I think that the Israelis are really ahead of the game in that respect, and the reason is very simple. As an Israeli, I didn't regard myself as a Zionist, and I didn't even regard myself as a Jew. I was an Israeli. The Zionist dream was to make the Jews to transform the Jews into people like all other people. And my generation is a good example. We regarded ourselves as Israelis, the same as a Brit, young Brit would regard himself as a Brit, not as Jews. And we thought that criticism is a very healthy adventure. And this is why, you may read very interesting articles about the Holocaust, for instance, in Haaretz that would never be published in The Guardian. Mm-hmm. It is funny. It is true. So I assume that there is something in my Israeliness that helps me being outspoken.
The other thing that I really enjoy about your writing, because I've watched you start blogging a few years ago, and I saw your stuff popping up here and there, and I knew you as a musician before as a blogger. I saw you.
I also knew me first as a musician.
At the festival, but I really like the personal. You get a real personal voice out of the stuff that you write, especially on your website. And you've got a very popular website. Yeah, gets a lot of traffic, a lot of hits. It's got a great following globally. But you got this personal style that I think really shines through. It's something that I try to do in my writing as well, successfully sometimes and not other times. But where does that voice come from?
I think that I'm primarily an artist. I'm a jazz musician. I'm not a political activist. I'm not involved in any political campaign. I'm totally independent. I'm driven by truth seeking and by search for beauty. And I think that it is catchy, it is very attractive. people are hooked by truth seeking. When you see the truth, you're just overwhelmed by it. When you understand that you have been misled for decades, it makes you very angry. And obviously, you know, along the years, I have been asked by different political organizations to join in, primarily by left organizations. And one of the first things that you learn, they tell you, all right, you cannot really talk about that. We don't believe it. What do you mean you cannot? But this is the problem. This is what I want to talk about. Or it is a problem for us. I said, all right, bye-bye. You know, I'll continue alone from here. But the other thing, I believe that good writing is obviously a form of art. It's something that could lead towards ecstatic feelings. And I'm searching for it in my writing, to that moment where you are just becoming yourself part of the text, when you realize that this book is not for you, it's about you. And it can make you very angry, very fearful, very excited, relieved. I'm much more excited about emotional transformation than endless analytical discourse that leads towards stagnation. And I think that these kind of things in particular make me unique. I am fully aware that the artist is probably the biggest danger to modern politics. I don't know if you remember, but 2-3 months ago we had Günter Grass writing a poem about Germany. He basically said the most obvious things. He came out with a really necessary statement, but he was the only one who could come with it. The entire German political, every German political institutions, every party, every politician stood up against him. But it became clear within hours that the entire German society, the population, stood up behind him. And why? Because we have this capacity to deliver truth in a very unconventional manner. Politicians are always afraid of us because we reform the discourse. We reform, we reinvent, we bring into light a new form of thinking, while the politician is there to deliver his message within the existent language game. Our job as artists is to invent a new language game.
Yeah, the politician is working within that limited band.
Yeah, within the boundaries of the discourse.
The artist is working with the whole possibility.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is why artists are a big threat to politicians. And now it is very interesting because it's not just Günter Grass. I learned 3 weeks ago that BDS in Ramallah, the Palestinian BDS, led by Omar Barghouti, is now chasing Daniel Barenboim.
really?
Yeah, the campaign against Daniel Barenboim and his orchestra, because he didn't define the conflict, you know, in the way that they thought suitable. You know, I don't even want to engage in a political discussion about it. But how stupid and lame could it be? You know, the same Omar Barghouti is chasing me, an artist. You know, it is not very surprising, but probably the positive aspect about it is that I don't think that we artists care at all. I've never been bothered by all those campaigns against me. When I see Alan Dershowitz on Fox News, you know, shouting, shouting, kind of performing a nice tantrum, begging people to shun me and shame them for endorsing my work. You know, I'm just laughing myself. I'm the first to put it on my website. I find it very entertaining.
It's conspiracy theories.
He said it's a fascinating and provocative book on Jewish identity.
Well,
it's
that's
his
like
opinion.
saying that Mein Kampf is a provocative and serious book about German identity. This is not about Jewish identity. This guy hates Jews, hates everything about Jews, makes up facts, says the Holocaust didn't occur. The idea that you would endorse this book, written not by an academic, written by some obscure saxophonist.
When we return, how one powerful lobby has maintained a stranglehold on both the U.S. and British foreign policy.
These are organizations that are pushing us all into global conflicts. AIPAC is pushing for a war in Iran.